Hey guys, this is the last month that we will be studying the Constitution. I know a lot of you continue on into May. We do a lot of different things in May. It's a shift in the weather and it's a shift in the attitude, and so we will do things differently in May. So we're actually going to be finishing up this month with the Constitution studies. Where we're focusing, and so what I've done is I've kind of taken May and April and combined them. So you have both Abraham Lincoln and you have the Civil War that we're sort of covering that time period. And this is really very insightful when it comes to the Constitution, because this was one of the major articles that was such a fight for them when they were trying to form the Constitution. They saw slavery as one of those things that could really, really kill the whole Constitution. And a lot of them wanted to get rid of it, but just weren't able to. So they put some things in place that they thought would actually just make slavery die out. That they said at a certain date, you're no longer able to import slaves anymore. That people who are a slave at that point, they'll have to live out their life and be a slave, but that will be the end of it, and you can't bring any more in, and that will just be the last generation of slaves, because they really thought that that would be the case. But it became a self-sustaining system where you didn't actually need more people to be brought in. There were just enough slaves that they were able, and having enough children, that it would just keep going on its own. So it didn't kill it the way that they thought it would. And it also, there were some other things going on there that the way that the economy was working, they felt like we need the slaves in order to make money, which of course is total bunk. But there was a lot of argument going on at that point, and so a lot of laws under the Constitution, where the Constitution had tried to phase out slavery, they started passing some more laws that said, well, we want it to continue, and now we've got some slave states and some free states and the Missouri Compromise. A lot of bad laws were being put into place here. And so you have another group of people who is extremely, extremely abused and not treated to the same freedoms that the Constitution should be assuring for everybody. And so this really had to come to a head. It was creating a dissonance inside of the country to declare we are a free country and we're free to do what we want, and at the same time to have a group of people that were enslaved and not eligible for the freedoms that most of the people were eligible for. That was a major problem, and it had to be solved. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be reading history.com. Oh, I'm sorry, this is actually a video. On history.com, there's a video called Slavery in America, and then Hillsdale College has a 7-minute video called The Founders' Slavery Dilemma. And so we're going to use those two videos to kind of create this basis and this structure for understanding how can a free country have people in it who are patently not free. How is this possible? And how do you correct it? How do you fix this problem and make it so that people can be free? In addition, we're going to be reading a book from Libraries of Hope called The World's Story. It's volume number 9, U.S. Civil War in Mexico is the name of the book. And then finally, we're going to watch the movie Hidden Figures to kind of show that even when the laws got it figured out, there's still a lot of racism that just finds its way out in a lot of different ways, and how we just need to be aware and not be racist. Just don't do that. Don't behave in that way. Be able to see everybody as equals. And honestly, this is just not a problem for kids. It's only a problem for adults. But our kids are going to become adults, and so it's important that we have this conversation and help them realize that the freedom that is assured by our Constitution wasn't given to the slaves. And there are still some groups that, even though legally everybody is free, some groups are still being treated less than, or like they just don't have the same playing field. It makes it really, really hard to feel like you're in a free country. So this is a tough one, and it's especially a tough one to end on. Maybe we'll spend a little bit of time at the end talking about how even though we've had hardships, and even though the last 2 months have been talking about groups of people who did not experience the same freedoms that were assured to everybody, that eventually we did figure it out. Eventually we're able to increase the freedom for everybody around us. And I'm not saying we're perfect, because I've got eyes, but I am saying that the Constitution is a really powerful document that has a lot of freedoms in it. And if we will learn what's in it and live what's inside that Constitution, we are going to increase the freedom not only for ourselves, but for everybody around us. And that is, I hope that's the message that my kids get and that any of you get who watch this, that with all of its mistakes, with all of its imperfections, the Constitution still shows us the direction to walk, to be more free, to be able to treat each other with the kind of respect that is needed to be in a free country. I hope this helps. You are doing such important things as a mom and a dad. I really appreciate you going through this with me. Actually, as I've been making these videos, I just felt like I could talk so much more about this, but I think that you being a mom or you being a dad and teaching this directly to your kids is so much more powerful, because then you build that relationship as well as sharing this knowledge and this information. And so I hope this has been helpful. I hope that as a mom and as a dad, you've been able to maybe learn more about the Constitution. And while we're talking about parents, Jeff Hymas has a YouTube channel called intheconstitution.org, and he used to sell videos that he made. He lived in Wyoming, and when he was living in Wyoming, he was trying to understand the Constitution. He was trying to really see what was in there and what wasn't in there, and how are we aligned with it and how are we not. And he worked with a lot of legislatures, and in the process of doing that, he made a whole bunch of videos to educate the legislatures on what was in the Constitution, and then he sold that for a long time, that you could buy that. Well, now it's free. You can just go on YouTube and watch all of those videos. They are not for kids. They're pretty dense. I've actually taught a class using those videos as the foundation of that class, because there's a lot of information in there that I didn't know, and I feel bad that I didn't know that, but I've watched those videos. I've really enjoyed learning more about what is in the Constitution and what freedoms we actually have and how to live those freedoms. So if you're interested as an adult wanting to find more information about the Constitution that goes beyond what you've been teaching your kids, check that out. It's all free, and it's just a really great experience to learn what the laws are that actually govern our country. So that is it. I'm trying to close and I just keep not closing. So let's try one more time. Being a mom and being a dad is super important, and you're doing a much better job than you think you are. Keep it up, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks.